All right. We are live. What is poppin', 10-gallon fish tank family? We got some people already in the chat. I see Lone Star Finn hanging out, so thanks for joining. Appreciate everybody who's tuning in tonight. So we got a fun topic today. Welcome to the Lone Star Finn, Fernando Bubbler. Appreciate you joining and hanging out with us tonight. So we got a fun topic. We're going to be talking about are fish keepers destroying the hobby by chasing profit, and specifically local breeders, right? So my last live stream where I went live, let me make sure my mic's working, it is. We were talking about how to make $500 a month from selling, breeding fish, shrimp, and plants. And we had some irate person saying it's people like you who are ruining the hobby. So I thought it'd be a fun night to sit down with you guys here in 10-gallon fish tank HQ and kind of discuss the pros, the cons of breeding fish, shrimp, and plants and selling them for profit as local breeders, and see if we are truly hurting or helping the hobby, and see what the majority thinks. Because like I said, I think the person who commented on the last stream is kind of a one-off, but I'm curious for those of you out there. As you guys know, if you've been watching my channel for a long time, I am big into helping cover the hobby through selling fish, shrimp, and plants, right? I'm based out of Nashville, and I see Lone Star Finn was asking, what part of Texas are you from? I just moved here not too long ago. So I was in Texas for about a year, and I lived out in Dallas. So Lone Star Finn, where are you from? What part? Because Texas is a huge state, huge fish community out there, and it's a lot of fun. I got to go to Aquashella last time I was out in Dallas area and had a great time. But yeah, I was out there for about a year. That's where I got into the hobby, really more aggressively into the hobby. And then I moved out here to Nashville about 2 years ago. And since then I've been building this fish room. And as you guys know, before we kind of get fully into the topic, I breed fish, sell fish, shrimp, plants. I also work with wholesalers, local breeders. Ideally, I like to either breed it myself or work with local breeders to supply what I sell. And I think the local breeding can be good if it's done correctly. It can also have its cons if not done 100% properly. So we'll kind of get into it. But to kind of preface, this whole fish room that you see was built on selling fish, shrimp, and plants, right? I started with one 10-gallon tank of, okay, so East Dallas is where Lone Star Finn is from, awesome. And then AZ Homegrown Aquatics says, yeah, he's a one-off. I would agree as a whole. So I started with one 10-gallon tank with shrimp, Neocaridina shrimp, cherry shrimp, probably like most of you out there. And as I made money from the tank, I just bought tank to tank to tank, and just expanded over the last about year and a half now. We started back, I believe it was about June of last year is when we really started this. And now a year and a half later, I have tons of multi-tank syndrome, right? I got, I think about almost 40 tanks out here in my garage now. And I just recently set up this beta bungalow build right here. It's kind of has the dark water, catappa leaves. I need to add more plants for the betas. But we just built that recently. But I'm big into 10-gallon tanks. Every time I make money from my website, in person, through YouTube ad revenue, it all goes back into continuing to expand and build this fish room. Same thing with the membership club that Lone Star Finn just joined, so thank you. All that goes right back into continue to expand, shoot more content, do things like that. So that's kind of how I started. That's like my backstory, and we'll kind of get into it. Post your comments in the description down below as we go through bullet points and talk on these different scenarios. If you guys think I'm missing any points, if there's anything to add, any pros or cons. So it's going to be a wild ride. We're going to have some fun. We might get some debate in the chat, or maybe everybody agrees. One other thing before we get started, if you check the link, the description, I have a jot form there for you. If you want to be entered in, I'm giving away frog bit for free. All you have to do is fill out the form, and at the end of the live stream, I'll announce a winner. We will randomly pick one winner to win it all. So jot form on there, and then if we do get 3 new members during the live stream or 10 super chats, I will go ahead and just give away 6 of my yellow Neocaridina shrimp, and I'll ship them out completely free. So both of them are completely free. Just go and enter. At the end of it, I will look at the job form. We'll do a random giveaway and see who gets what. So kind of getting into it and setting the tone for this live stream, what we were talking about, I wanted to kind of go over where do most fish come from, right? Most of them come from either wild caught, they're either raised at fish farms, either here in the US or overseas, and they go from someone who's mass producing them to wholesalers, from wholesalers to stores, from stores to us, is the typical flow of process that fish go through before they get to our home aquariums, okay? That's the majority of fish out there. Let me get some more water. So to kind of walk through the wholesaler side, I wanted us to kind of think about what the process looks like we're looking at like overseas mass producing fish farms, right? And are they ethical? Okay, so when we have someone questioning local breeders ethical and saying local breeders are ruining the hobby, let's kind of take a step back, because maybe some people who are making those comments are not informed, right? So a lot of fish are coming from either fish farms or they're being wild caught, okay? So we're gonna talk more on the fish farm side. Things that we can see that might be unethical at a fish farm, and I'm curious what you guys think, is overcrowding conditions, right? Fish are packed into these big tubs, these big bins, these big ponds, and they're just mass produced, right? Just mass bred, leaving fish in very crowded conditions where if one fish gets sick, now you can have all the fish or hundreds of fish start getting sick as well, okay? They're also gonna be fed the least amount of food possible to get them to grow, okay? So we're not gonna be feeding them high quality foods, we're just gonna be feeding them, especially at the farms, we're gonna be feeding food that's just gonna grow them as fast as possible to get the growth, so they can then ship them out here to the US if they're overseas, or ship them to whatever stores, whatever wholesalers they typically work with, okay? So typically we see at the big fish farms overcrowded, high mortality rates, because if one fish gets sick, it's so packed and crowded that all of them can get sick. Also, sometimes there's a lot of chemicals and antibiotics used, because like I said, with that many fish being packed in at these fish farms and being bred at such a high rate, they're gonna be constantly treating it with a lot of chemicals and antibiotics to prevent the fish from getting sick. And then sometimes they even introduce different type of steroids and hormones to get the fish to breed more quickly or grow quicker as well, okay? All which could lead to poor health for the fish, and then set you up as the hobbyist up for failure. Next thing, poor water quality, right? So if there's tons and tons of fish at these fish farms, water quality can go down, and that can, once again, not good for the fish, because whatever the fish goes through could shorten its lifespan. So if it's getting injected with hormones, or it's being in water with hormones, it's getting tons of chemicals, all that could lead to the fish living a shortened life. All right, let me go to the comments for a second, we'll keep going through it. We can see that Electric Bugalo, I probably butchered that, 10-gallon tanks are nice, but my obsessions is 20 longs. Yeah, if you like 20 longs, the one right behind me is one of my favorites. I got this from one of my subscribers. He had to move and asked me to take it. Awesome, I do love the 20 long. I'm actually, I've never had one until he gave me this, and I'm starting to really fall in love with the 20 longs as well. Lone Star Fin, just setting up my first 40 breeder, love it. Got 7 10s, 6 5s, a 20 tall, and 29. Multi-tank syndrome at its finest, love to hear it. I love the 40 breeders too. Yep, I got two 40 breeders up top on my rack for my easy water top off system here. You guys can see the little knobs there. I got my 40 breeder up there, and I actually had a water disaster, unfortunately, this week. I did my top offs and tank maintenance this weekend, and I forgot to turn one of my valves off, and it caused one of my 40-gallon breeder tanks to drain to the other one, overflow. Thankfully, nothing really got damaged because it's in the garage and the water drained out, and all was well that ended well. But 40 breeders are great. I'm actually about to put a bunch of plants up in that one as well. AZ home breeders are a benefit because the water parameters are the same as mine. Okay, we got some people who are for it. Yes, with this Texas hard water, that is so true. Okay, so it seems like so far a lot of people in the chat are supporting local breeders. Y'all should join the membership. He's reasonably priced and great content. Appreciate that, Lone Star. All right, so far a lot of people seem they're in support of local breeders, which, trust me, I'm the same way. I would agree as a whole. Now, there's a caveat to that where I would say local breeders are not going to be great, but we'll get to that. The next one is genetic manipulation, right? Back in the day, glowfish were genetically modified to make them the color that they were. and other genetic modifications, getting different types of fish to breed together by using hormones or different things as well. That could also lead to a fish that's not quite as healthy. Deceptive selling practices. Fish might be dying and they might inject them with something to make them look brighter, look healthier. That could be also another negative of buying from a fish farm, because they're going to try to make them look as good as possible. And yeah, when we'll get to the points around why local, we'll get to more points about why local breeders are not good here in just a second. But the fish farm, unstable harvesting, maybe they're going and harvesting it from the wild, and now we're reducing our wild population. That might not be optimal, right? Because we want to support our environment and make sure that we are self-sustaining. So if we're constantly getting fish from the wild, then maybe we're depleting down the wild population, and maybe even causing the genetics of the wild fish to not be as hardy because we're taking a big majority of them out. Now, there's a lot of laws and things in place that do help prevent that, but some of these countries where things are being caught and brought in aren't as well regulated, and we see that with all different types of animal species outside of fish where things go into extinction. Okay, no ethical oversight. Once again, they're just breeding for profit, so they don't necessarily have someone oversight at a lot of these fish farms saying like, hey, don't do this, don't do that, you're killing all these fish. It's just breed as many as we can, get them to our wholesalers get them to the store and sell in stores, then let's get it out the door to our customers. And if the customer dies on the fish, if the fish dies on the customer, that's the customer's problem, not our problem. Is how a lot of them look at it. Then shipping neglect, right? And this is one that I wasn't fully aware of until I researched it more. A lot of times with these fish farms, they're gonna feed them up really good, and then they're gonna sell them to wholesalers. But before they ship them to wholesalers, they typically stop feeding for a couple days. Then the wholesalers get the fish, and then once again, now the wholesalers don't feed, so they could be in the wholesalers for a week, 2 weeks, I don't know, and they're going to feed. If they are feeding, it's very minimal. They're kept in very overcrowded tanks, low light, either doing constant water changes or not enough. And if fish are dying, it's like, it's okay. We're still shipping out enough that it's going to be fine. But they might not even be feeding these fish at all. So you might get a fish and it hasn't been fed in a week or two, and it looks all emaciated. Now you got to try to reestablish that healthy bacteria inside its gut, get it eating again without it causing it to bloat up, and that's just not a good situation for you, the buyer. Okay. And then finally, profit over welfare. At the end of the day, they're breeding for profit. They're going to produce as many as they possibly can. It's a fish farm, and they are going to do whatever it takes to make sure they hit their profit margins and stay profitable. Okay, so those would be a lot of the negatives around fish farms or getting them wild caught that I see as could be problems. I'm curious what you guys think. And then let's kind of go to the positive side of local fish breeding. Now, I think we're kind of pretty much everybody who's tuning in, all 8 of you guys, most of you are probably in agreement that local fish breeders are the way to go and is more ethical as a whole. Okay, so a couple points. Healthier fish. Typically, local breeders are breeding something they care about. Okay, that's me. Everything in my fish room is something I love, care about, and want. And that's like most local fish breeders who are in your community, who go to your local aquarium clubs. They are breeding something that they think is a really cool fish, something they care about, and they're trying to make it the best they can. I'd say that's like the majority of local fish breeders. So when you care about it, your fish is going to be healthier because you're making sure the water parameters are right. You're going to make sure you give it good, clean tank conditions. You're going to be feeding it good quality foods, and doing all those type of things. The next one is reducing stress with transport. Right? When we get it from wholesalers, we get it from overseas at fish farms. It's got to go through multiple different shipping processes to get to the customer. Where a local breeder breeds it in the water, like some of you guys have said in the comments, that breeds in the water, and then you buy it, so the fish is already used to your water and it hasn't gone through the multiple stresses and the time without food in the shipping process. So it's already going to be most likely a hardier, easier to care for fish because it's already used to the exact water parameters you're used to. Okay, and it hasn't had to go through those multiple stressors of being shipped everywhere. Also, another advantage for local breeders, saving rare species. Once again, there's people all over there on YouTube in our local aquarium clubs. Like I just went to the Music City Society Aquarium Club, and everybody's breeding fish they're excited about. I listened to a talk on cichlids. And so there's these rare species that are hard to get in the wild or starting to become extinct, and usually local breeders are the ones who have a passion for that fish, and they're like doing everything they can to get it to breed, raise it, and get it to other people in the community. And that's another really positive thing that can come from local breeders. Community building, right? Local breeders get out there and they get engaged with the community, right? Part of what makes this hobby fun is being able to do stuff like this. The live stream, hanging out with all you guys, Lone Star, Michael B, AZ Homegrown Aquatics, everybody who's tuning in. It's fun to get to like hang out and talk to you guys, but you also get to do that in your local community when you're a local breeder. So you get to know all the people who buy fish, right? They get to come over and see your stuff and get stuff from you. You get to meet them at fish stores. You get to meet them at your local aquarium club. So you get to build a community where people are sharing tips, things that work for them, sharing failures that they've had and how to overcome those failures, sharing, hey, this is how I bred this is how I bred that. And so it's a really good learning environment. And it's a great time in today's day and age where we're all on our phones constantly. Everything is done on the internet, right? We've put a purchase in on Amazon, it gets shipped to us, and we never have to interact with a human. The aquariums, breeding fish and going to aquarium clubs and buying from a local breeder allows you to get out, engage with local people, and still get that face-to-face connection that we all need, and that most of us miss out on in today's day and age with so much technology and things going on, right? A lot of people are working from home, right? And this, even like this live stream, it's cool because we get to hang out, I get to see you guys get to see me, we get to talk, but there's nothing that beats that face-to-face connection. And part of like a local breeder allows you to get that face-to-face connection. You can see most of the time the local breeder is going to show you what they're breeding in. You're going to get to see the setup. They're going to tell you exactly how they're doing it, which then sets that customer up for better success. Okay, quality over quantity. So quality, right? A lot of times these breeders are not always focused 100% on profit. They're focused on bringing good quality fish. People like Greg Sage, other people out there, they want to make the most high-end, best whatever, right? It might be the best white cloud or the best celestial pearl danio. Like for me, I'm working with a local breeder out here, Ryan, and his goal and my goal is to help bring the best celestial pearl danio, not only to Nashville, but everywhere. So we're bringing in different genetics of different CPDs into this, and we're trying to breed them, and then we're going to be jetting those out to everybody locally, and then also shipping them out to other people, and trying to create a more stable, healthier, sustainable celestial pearl danio. So better quality typically, right? Learning from opportunity. Once you breed a fish yourself, you can understand them in a whole new way. So being able to see it, do it, and then have a better appreciation for the fish when you personally breed it or you get it from someone. They have that knowledge that the wholesaler doesn't have, the fish store owner may not have, and they can share that with you. Eco benefit, right? Also, there's not so much gas emitted into the air through all the shipping. So it's just a better, less bags used, less shipping materials used. It's just better for your ecosystem. Also, less fish pulled out of the wild. So all that is better for the environment, better for our world that we live in, which is important as well. If we're enjoying the hobby, we want to make sure it's sustainable. And then number 9, inspiring new keepers. Getting to breed fish can be a really fun and challenging part of the hobby. And so local breeders can inspire. It was cool because I was at the Music City Aquarium Society meetup, and I got to see a kid who was getting into the hobby. I believe he was anywhere from, I don't know his exact age, but he was probably like maybe 10 years old, and he was just really excited to be at this meetup and being around fish keepers. He saw a fish that he wanted, and he was able to get it. And it was really, really cool to see, like just his passion. And so in being able to inspire the next round of fish keepers is another thing us as local breeders can do and local breeders can participate in. And then finally, responsible practices. I'd say as a whole, the majority of local breeders are breeding responsibly from what I've seen. I could be wrong. If you've seen otherwise, comment it in the chat today while we're going live and we can talk about it. But as a whole, breeding responsibly. A lot of times they have whole setups, racks, and making sure that everything is set up in good quality water parameters. All right, now let's go to the opposite side. What are the dangers or the possible pitfalls of local breeders? Need some water for this. So this is the part that might be a little more controversial. Let's get into a couple comments I saw, and then we're going to go into the flip side of it. So let's see what we have. And species advancement along the quality. Okay? Yep. You can advance the species and make them better as you're local breeding them, things like that. I would agree with that. Okay, so flip side, what are some things I've seen rarely, but I do see sometimes that could be a downside to being a local fish breeder, and maybe why some people don't like local fish breeders or people who promote it, like myself. Overbreeding and oversupply. Okay, so the more local fish breeders that are out there, you are going to get some people who are just going to overbreed something to the point where there's almost no value. So for them, could be someone else out there, right? If it's another local fish breeder, it gets upset, right? You buy something from them, you start breeding it, and the price of that fish comes down, it gets oversaturated, and now there's no supply for that fish. That's a typical one that I see that people might view as a negative. I view it as a positive, right? I mean, supply and demand. If there's a lot of great different types of fish out there and it's oversupplied, cool. Guess what? That's going to cause the shift of people to start breeding something else, which might open up a new market. So, but if you're a local breeder and someone else jumped in and started breeding stuff and it drove the price down and you started losing out because you didn't build your niche and you didn't build your customer base properly, maybe that's a negative for you. But too many, people breeding the same fish, flood the market, make it hard to sell. And now we have a bunch of fish that no one wants, and then that could lead to unethical things like, just killing fish in unethical ways, just dumping fish in our local ecosystems, things like that. Typically, local breeders aren't going to do that, but it could happen here and there. I see flowers with horns. Olaf from Hawaii, real breeders who take it up to improve the quality and health are amazing, but the ones that just breed for profit with nothing else in mind ruin fish. Okay, so that's what Flowers and Horns says. Michael B, yeah, for sure. If you're a store, again, guy like me and you, keepers will always hold a species. Inbreeding issues, okay, kind of like what we talked about. That Flowers and Horns from Hawaii says is genetically ruining fish. Okay, I would agree with that. Inbreeding. So a lot of times local breeders, especially new ones, are constantly inbreeding. They're not ever diversifying the genetics in the fish, which then can cause issues, right? So if you're raising fish generation after generation after generation in the same water parameters, same water temperature, same conditions, just over, and then you're selectively picking the fish from the parents and rebreeding those back, now you don't have that genetic diversity. It's just like with humans, we don't marry our cousins, we don't marry our sisters, right? Because inbreeding can lead to bad genetic diversification. Same thing with fish, shrimp, plants, well, maybe a little bit with plants, but fish, shrimp, animals. If we're constantly inbreeding, there's going to be less genetic variance, which then leads to more health issues, a fish that's more susceptible typically, and a fish that's going to be not as successful for the hobbyist. So over time, and that's why sometimes you see things like CPDs, right? A lot of them have been very inbred, and so CPDs can be a very tricky fish. Same thing with some really high-end guppies. High-end guppies are so inbred that some of them are very finicky. You change a couple degrees of water and that fish just dies. And that can lead to a fish that is not healthy, doesn't live as long, and then also just bad for the customer because they don't get the fish they thought they were getting. They have issues with it, it dies. Now they got to go buy another one, so they start wasting their money. And that also brings the other ethical issue, right? Breeding fish for certain things, right? Long fins are cool, but if we make the fins too long, now that fish might not be able to swim properly, dies. Same thing with like short body or pot belly. All of those are different genetic things that we've bred for that could have a genetic disadvantage for that fish. It could shorten its lifespan. So then it brings up that whole ethical side of, is that an ethical thing to do for the fish and for the hobby? You guys have to decide there, and you can put your comments in the chat. So let's look at a couple more. For sure, if you're AZ Homegrown Aquatics, I get fish from local breeders that one can't get from local pet shops. Okay, yep. And that's one of the best perks about local fish breeders is a lot of times they're carrying fish that you can't get at a pet shop because they are typically passionate about that specific fish, and that's why they're breeding it. Lone Star, Finn, if breeders don't have quality fish, people will quit buying from them. They won't last for long. It's true. That is facts. However, yes and no, it'll take a while because no hate. But out here in Tennessee, there's some really certain areas, and I'm not going to say where, but there's some certain areas where fish are being locally bred, and the quality is very, very poor compared to what I saw in Dallas. And I know they're from local breeders. And fish weren't nearly as healthy. They had like curved spines. And unfortunately, because of the environment out here, there's not nearly as many local breeders, and there's not as much competition. So these people are surviving and staying in the hobby. So it depends on the competition. Because unfortunately I've seen, at least for 2 years now, a certain place sells very inbred fish that are not super healthy, and somehow they stay open, are still continually selling fish. So yes and no. I would kind of agree with that. The next one, unsold fish problem. So what happens if the tank fills up faster as the customer buy? That's the real challenge. And that's where, a lot of times people with guppies, they'll either kill the guppies, the calls, or they will sell them for feeder fish. And some people have ethical problems with that as well. But if they get too many fish, they can't keep up with it. What happens then? Are we just going to kill the fish and just destroy them all? Are we giving them away? And I would say as a whole, most local breeders are going to give them away for cheap. Or, I would say the next best option, if you can't give them away from cheap, is going to be feeding them, big fish like bass and other things that need to eat some live foods. Sometimes, they need to eat some live food, so we might as well, if it's a fish that there's not a demand for, feeding it to a bass or something like that so it can be utilized. And then the last resort that I see people do, and some breeders do, is just kill the fish and throw them away. So it brings up that whole unethical side of things. It's just breeding fish and then killing them, which then, hurts the profits. And then bad info circulating. Not everyone shares solid care tips. It's easy for misinformation to spread, right? So sometimes local breeders might start accidentally or intentionally spreading misinformation. Sometimes local breeders get certain fish and they don't want others to keep it. And they want to keep it for themselves. They're greedy. They're not trying to help the hobby. They just want to make the dollar. And so instead of sharing the tips on how to care for the fish, how to breed the fish, how to set up for success, they just kind of hold all that information to themselves. Or maybe, sometimes you'll see local breeders intentionally, like you'll go online to buy some zebra plecos that are $200 and it's from a local breeder, and they intentionally sell you 3 males and no females because they don't want you to be able to breed it, right? That's another aspect of local fish breeders that could be a problem. Now you see that also on fish farms and other places, they'll do that as well. But trying to maybe like corner the market instead of cornering the market the right way, which is having good quality fish from the plants, great customer service, great connections in your community. If you do those 3 things effectively, it doesn't matter who else is breeding the same fish as you, you're gonna have that market come to you instead of someone else. But a lot of people don't think like that. They just think, oh, somebody else starts breeding it, I'm screwed, and I need to corner it for myself, so I'm not gonna share any information. I'm gonna only sell you males of a guppy. I'm not gonna keep all the females. Or if I'm selling you a female, I'm going to give you a female that's really bad genetically, so that if you breed it, it's not going to be as good as mine. And yes, everyone wants to keep the best genetics for themselves to keep breeding, but they intentionally do a little bit shady things sometimes to prevent others from joining into the hobby. Let's see what Rocky Canyon 204 says. I've been wanting to get into fish breeding, but also struggling right now with our shrimp that won't breed. Okay, we can go into that. I'll touch on that here in a second. For sure, German blue rams and my German blue rams and my quality started it all for me. Yep. German blue rams are another one that can be pretty finicky for people. And so if you have a really high quality one that is self-sustainable and good and does well for the customer, they're going to come to you, right? And your local fish stores are going to buy from you, local community is going to buy from you, and you just keep breeding them, bringing in new genetics. Final thing is, and I've seen this a little bit out here in the fish community, it's very rare. I'd say as a whole, the fish community is pretty positive and uplifting, at least on the side of the fish community I'm in, right? We're a small channel here, so we don't have tons and tons of people everywhere, and obviously the bigger the community gets in your sector that you're in, the more drama that typically involves, but I'm just not into that. But sometimes local fish breeders, there can be that local competition drama, kind of like we're talking about, where someone wants to gatekeep a certain fish for themselves, someone else brings it in, now we get some feelings that get hurt, and people are talking bad about that person to somebody else in the community, and that person's talking bad about that person, and it starts that whole drama effect, that chain effect of talking bad about people behind their backs, and creating environment where instead of uplifting and supporting each other, we're now just talking bad about each other and tearing each other down, which is not what the hobby should be or is about at all. So those are a couple maybe the downsides of local fish breeding, but as a whole, all in all, local breeders are doing a lot of positive things. I would say the majority of local breeders, like myself included, who built this fish room from breeding and selling fish and plants, it's all about giving good, high quality fish, shrimp, and plants that survive and thrive for your customers. And as long as you're buying from a local fish breeder who does that, or you are a local fish breeder who does that, I think we're making a positive impact on the hobby. The more we can provide local fish to the customers who thrive and do well, we bring in different genetics so we can keep genetic modification, keep genetic diversity, and allowing those fish to stay healthy, have good genetic diversity, and continue to thrive in aquariums. I think the better the hobby is for it. So let's go into questions. So if you guys have questions, that was my take on it. If you guys got thoughts, points, post them in here in the chat. We'll go through it and we'll talk about it. Or if you have any other questions real quick, I'll answer whatever questions you had. But that's my whole take. Local breeders, in my opinion, are positive for the community. Just make sure we're doing it ethically. Good space for every single fish, shrimp, or plant you do. Good quality fish. Bring in other genetics. Don't continue to line breed the same thing over and over and over till the genetics go to shit. And also feed good quality foods. And do right by the customer. If we do those things in the hobby and then help the other local hobbyists out, why do we have to gatekeep things, right? The more people have the fish that you love, the better the hobby is for it, right? If you can give your fish to someone else and they can bring more genetics in, they can do that, and you guys can all work together. We can all have fun and share the fish, shrimp, and plants that we're passionate about. I think the more fun this hobby will be and the more positive we will be for it. So let's go into a couple questions, then we'll do a giveaway, and we'll call it a night. It's crazy, it's already November. We started this channel doing live stream form back in January, and 135 subscribers, and now we're over here at almost 2,300. So thank you guys, appreciate the support. It's been a lot of fun. Appreciate everyone who's been buying on 10gallonfishtanks.com, commenting, engaging, having fun. It's been a fun year. And we started doing live streams in May, so I think at this point we've now done like 6 or 7 live streams, because we do one every single month, the first Sunday at 7 p.m. So it's been a good time. All right, let's see what we got here. So let's go back to Rocky Canyon 2004. I've been wanting to get into fish breeding, but also struggling right now with our shrimp that won't breed. Okay, so quick question for you, Rocky. Post it in the comments for me so we can address it. What's your setup look like? Is it a Neocaridina shrimp? Is it Caridina? And then what's your setup look like? Do you have moss in there? Do you have plants? What type of substrate are you using? Do you have like rocks for the baby shrimp to hide in? What are you feeding them? There's a lot of variables, and it might, if you post some of the stuff in below, I can kind of talk about it and give you some solutions. Or you can message me on my Facebook page, 10 Gallon Fish Tanks. It's in the link in the description below, but message me there as well. We can discuss kind of like what's going on with your tank and get them breeding, because if it's a Neocaridina shrimp, you should have hundreds at this point, because they usually breed super, super simple. So we just got to find out what's wrong and we'll fix it. Not a problem. Michael B. Yeah, the good and the bad of local fish society drama, but generally everyone in the hobby are a wealth of knowledge and willing to share the others the ropes. Absolutely. Like I said, I went to a local aquarium club yesterday actually, and it was cool. Like I said, there's people of all ages, young, old, and everybody was just talking, having a good time, sharing their knowledge, sharing what they were doing. They had a whole little like fish auction that were locally bred fish, plants, shrimp, and people got incredible deals. It was really cool to see. Like, you got good quality fish, shrimp, and plants that are locally bred. People were walking away with like 10 high quality shrimp for $10, right? That's awesome. That's super cool to see. I love that. And then other people were walking away with like frogbit, valsinaria for like $2, right? I think that's one of the coolest parts of the fish community and going to fish clubs is you can get some really awesome, good quality fish, shrimp, and plants for really cheap, and then you can learn a lot and you get to meet other people who are really passionate about it and have a good time hanging out. I see Corey Dora. Corey Dora, hello, what's up? Good to see you. Last thing I guess we'll go into is, I agree, fish clubs are amazing. Yep, they're a good time. Which fish club do you guys go to? Join your local club, 100%, right? I go to Music City Aquarium Society Club out here in Nashville, and then we'll probably be starting our own here soon. The Nashville Fish Keeper Facebook page I started, we're getting close to 1,000 members now. Well, we're getting there. I think we're at like 800 something, so we're growing. Once we hit over 1,000, I'm gonna do our first Nashville Fish Keeper get together. So we're gonna rent out a space and we're gonna have a fun time hanging out and having a good time with it. All right, Rocky Canyon 204. All right, it's a 5-gallon tank, so we're gonna figure out we're going to find out this person's problem here with the shrimp. So 5-gallon tank with cherry shrimp, have lots of dwarf water lettuce, have some Anubias petite nana, nice. Have a shrimp dome, lots of other plants. I forget to name, and have aqua soil substrate. How deep is the substrate? Cherry, okay. So 5 gallons is good. It's definitely small. If you're trying to breed, you can breed in any size. I mean, I've bred 5 gallons, I've bred in 10. I like to go 10 a little bit better. As a whole, you can, I mean, I've kept 300, 500 shrimp in a 5-gallon tank. Like you can get tons and tons of shrimp in there. Sounds like you have a good setup. Water lettuce is great. You got the hiding, you got the nanas. Now aqua soil is not necessarily needed for cherry shrimp. That, depending on your water parameters, like it is where you're located, if your water is becoming too like acidic, they may not like that too much, because Neocaridina shrimp like a little bit harder water. So maybe test your water parameters, make sure it's not like super acidic, because Caridina like it to be a little more acidic, and the aqua soil is great for Caridina shrimp. You can also use it for Neocaridina like I have, and they're still doing fine. Out here in Nashville, I can use aqua soil, and it's not going to drop my pH too low to where they're not going to breed or not thrive anymore. But I would check that. Also overfeeding, like Michael B said, at all, that could be the problem. If you're overfeeding, yeah, overfeeding could be it. It sounds like your substrate got 2 inches of substrate to 1.5 inch, so that's plenty. So kind of walk you through my setup and what I do. I can show you guys real quick. Typically, I'm doing some sort of, it don't really matter what soil type you have with Neocaridina, but I like to do a rock pile. So I go to Lowe's and I get a bunch of just like river rock, and I'll do a rock pile in a corner. That allows like biofilm, algae, all that to grow in there, and also allows the babies, because when the Neocaridina shrimp, they let go of the eggs and the shrimplets hatch and they go out, they need something to eat. So I like to provide hiding spots for them to go climb into, and that's between moss. So get yourself some Java moss, some Taiwan moss, something like that. Get yourself some sort of moss, because moss is great at getting all sorts of little particles, right? When you feed the tank, the food will go down into the moss, little organisms will go down there, little things that your shrimp will eat. And shrimp are constantly eating, they're always eating. So make sure you have some sort of moss, because that will really help you, especially with shrimp. So Taiwan, some sort of moss, Taiwan moss, some Wassertang, Java moss, get a moss, do a rock pile. And then there's 3 foods I like to feed. Twice, okay, it might be underfeeding, to be honest. So there's 3 foods I feed. Let me grab them real quick and I'll show you. So give me 1 second. It's going to take me like 2 seconds to go grab this food. But there's 3 foods I feed, and I feed daily. Some people will say I overfeed, but I found I get hundreds of shrimp doing this method. So maybe try this as well. Let me show you. So we got 4 foods that I like to feed. And I've talked about this on a lot of videos. So if you haven't gone and watched it, go check my channel out. I got videos on it. But there's 4 foods that I feed. So my foundation, and it depends on how new your tank is, if you need to do this or not. But once I found it helps my colony get a lot bigger. And I just feed the typical mini Hikari algae wafers. These are really good. And then I feed these daily. So my typical feeding protocol, if I have less than 25 shrimp, I feed like 1 of them daily. If it's like less than 10, I'm gonna feed like 1 every other day. And then if you get over 25, I like to do 2 of these a day, and these are the mini ones. They're really small, right? The Hikari mini algae wafers. And then if I have 50 plus, I'm feeding 3 of these daily, okay? The next thing I do is I feed a small amount of this, the Magic Nano Feed or small fish feed from Aquarium Co-op. This is super fun, and it's gonna spread everywhere throughout your tank. And that allows them to have a lot of different things to eat. I think this is good. I don't think it's necessary. Actually, I know it's not necessary. The most necessary thing, in my opinion, is this right here, Bacter AE. So if you're not using Bacter AE, get some of this. I found when I dose this right and I do it efficiently, I get tons and tons of baby shrimp, because sometimes what people are struggling with is the shrimp are breeding and you're getting babies, but then the babies don't have enough food to eat and then they die. So Bacter AE is going to create biofilm throughout your tank. It's going to allow that biofilm to go everywhere, and your shrimplets will be able to eat this stuff. Same with your adults, because the shrimp love biofilm. They're going to eat this up. And I found this to be the game changer. When I started using biofilm and introducing this into my shrimp food, that's when I saw the most babies. The tanks I'm not dosing this in have the least amount of babies. So how do you dose it? If it's a 5-gallon tank, you're going to take a toothpick amount and you're going to dose it 3 times a week. That's what I do, at least. There's different ways to do everything. Like I said, there's no one size fits all. But you can take the bottom part of the little handle, dip this in the water, then you dip it in the powder and dip that in the tank, and you do that 3 times a week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and that's going to create enough. Just don't do a full scoop. If you do a scoop, you might kill off the oxygen in your tank and kill all your shrimp. Just a very small toothpick amount, 2 to 3 times a week. Should be plenty of biofilm for your shrimp. And then the final thing, making sure they can molt and are healthy. I like to do some sort of mineral supplement, and that's going to be Mineral Junkie is what I use. So between those foods, once again, Mineral Junkie, Bacter AE, mini algae wafers, and Magic Nano Feed, you pretty much have everything you need. Just do a small amount, don't do too much, because if you foul up the tank, especially in a 5-gallon tank, you're playing a dangerous game. All right, let's go back in the comments, see what people are saying. Let's see here. I feed pellets once to twice a week. Okay, so that's what we talked about, the food thing. Could be too thick, leading to oxygen depletion, creating an anaerobic zone, releasing hydrogen sulfide. Possibly, yeah. I mean, it's a 5-gallon tank, so it's going to be a little bit more susceptible to that. Also, how long has the tank been set up? Because if it's a new tank, probably not a lot of biofilm build up yet, or algae for them to eat, and they need a lot of that. Lone Star's Finn says, I want to get a shrimp, but definitely want to learn more before I purchase just any shrimp. Yeah, smart choice. Don't rush into anything for sure. Take your time, research, make sure you know what you're doing before you get into it. Do start with, if you want shrimp, the easiest one to start with, Neocaridina. They're super simple. I mean, every single one of my tanks pretty much has shrimp. It's my favorite, it's my passion, it's what I love. That's what got me into the hobby. Well, one of the things that got me in the hobby, there's 2 fish that got me in the hobby. It's the tuxedo koi guppies. That was my first love when it came to the fish and like the whole aquarium thing was tuxedo koi guppies. That was like my dream fish. I now have them, breed them, and love them for the last 2 years. And then Neocaridina cherry shrimp. I was like, those are so cool. And then I got really into the shrimp side, and now almost every tank has shrimp. And it's a lot of fun. And then the third one, which is now my favorite one, is Celestial Prodannios. So shrimp, do it. If you haven't done it, get yourself some shrimp. They're so much fun. Don't listen to haters. You work hard, bro. I appreciate it, Falcon 11. I do my best, man, and it's fun. I don't worry about the haters. That's the number one thing, guys. It's just gotta go out there, have fun, and like I always tell people in my life, right? Because my main job that I do, you get a lot of haters in my main job as well that I do. And the more people hate on you, the more successful you're being, the more you're headed in the right direction. Because if no one's hating on you, it means no one cares, and it means no one gives anything. So if people are starting to hate on you, it means you're doing the right thing, for sure. As long as it's not coming from like close friends and family who genuinely care about you. If it's your friends and family, like, hey, we care about you, you're doing something wrong, maybe you should, listen to it. But if it's just a random person hating, it means you're headed the right direction. Michael B. had an issue with my 24-karat gold Neos not breeding on and leading to deaths. You really only need a thin layer of aqua soil. Yeah. Or no aqua soil if it's a Neo. Now, the gold ones are a little bit more finicky, for sure. That's what I found. Neos stand for Neocaridina. That's a type. There's Caridina, Neocaridina, shrimp. Let's see what else we got in here. AZ Homegrown Aquatics. Keep stable conditions. Be patient. Yep. It took me probably a month or 2 before I really started noticing babies in my newly set up shrimp tank. So it takes a little time. So if it's a new tank, be patient. Tank is about 2 years old. Okay, so it is old. I only have 5 left. Introduced new ones about 3 months ago, but they keep dying off. Also, test. There was another one that was crazy, right? One of the guys in the local community who I sold shrimp to, he bought a tank on Facebook Marketplace, and he put shrimp in it, and they all started dying. All his other tanks are doing well because I showed him the whole like food setup. I made sure he was good, and he bought his stuff for me, and I gave him a bunch. They all started dying. I was like, have you tested for copper? And believe it or not, because he told me the shrimp were dying and the snails were dying, and believe it or not, there was copper in his tank. So that was crazy. And he was like, how do I get the copper out? I was like, I don't know how. So if anybody knows how to get copper, in my knowledge, if there's copper, good luck. You probably just need to take the tank down and get a new tank. But if you guys know how to get rid of copper, let me know so I can tell him. Because in my mind, I told him, I was like, tear the tank down, start over, because I don't know how to get rid of copper. At that point, if your shrimp and your snails are dying, whoever sold you that tank, that's who put copper in there. Man, that's rough. Okay, yep, Rocky says he's going to go get some of that stuff, though. Michael B, yeah, man, I'm telling you, that's what I had issues with. They've been multi-in lots. Let's see here. Multi-in lots, and I've seen 2 buried, but no fry so far, I think is what he's trying to say. Redid the shrimp tanks, put 1/2-inch layer with a separate feeding area in the front. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, a lot of people do little feeding cups. That's always awesome. Do a little feeding tray so that the food that doesn't get eaten you can pull out and make sure it doesn't foul up the water conditions. That's always a good idea. Let's see here. The other thing too, that if you're struggling with shrimp, because shrimp are so easy typically, would be, are you doing a lot of water changes? Right? For me, I don't do water changes on my shrimp tanks very often. Less is more typically, as long as you got stable water parameters. I only do water changes about every month to 3 months and sometimes 6 months. It depends on the tank. But a lot of times if it's a shrimp only tank and you don't have any other fish in there, that'd be the other question. Do you have fish in your shrimp tank? And because if the fish are in there, they might be eating the babies. But a lot of times people are doing too many water changes and too big of water changes. A 5-gallon tank, if you're taking a gallon out, that's a 20% water change, right? So if you're doing a water change, keep it very minimal. And the 5-gallon tank I had that we had the best success with, that I had good success with, I had hundreds in there. I didn't do a water change for 6 months. Because a 5-gallon tank, if you're taking water out consistently every week, then your water parameters can go everywhere. How much would you do for my 40 as part of a cleanup crew? So for shrimp, if you're doing a 40, it's going to also depend on like how many plants, what all fish are going to be put in there. A 40, I'm going to start with like 50 shrimp if possible. If you can afford to buy 50, go 50. Most of my 10-gallon tanks, I start with at least 20. A lot of times I'll start them with like 30 to 40 just right from the start. And like I said, I just use my feeding method, and they're good to go typically. But a tank that big, you could throw 100 in there and you'd be fine. But 20 to 50 for a 40-gallon tank would be a good starting point. It's just going to depend on, just make sure you have enough food for them so they can eat it. Yep, keeping food out of the substrate helps a lot. Tank has been testing normal for months. Do you have hard water? Yeah. There's assassin snail in the tank that have started breeding. Okay. That's a controversial one. Some people say assassin snails will eat your shrimp and shrimp babies. I keep assassin snails in every single one of my shrimp tanks, and they're good. But you never know. They're pretty slow moving, so you kind of have to prey on the weak, or just if a shrimp doesn't move and it ends up getting it, it is what it is, I guess. But yeah, that's another thing you could experiment with. Take the assassin snail out and see if you start seeing more shrimplets. That'd be an interesting thing. This won't show on your test. That's why it's an issue. Water changes once a month to 2 months, and top up otherwise. Okay. Yeah, maybe slow down. Do like 3 months, 4 months, until you actually have to change the water. Maybe slow down. It just depends. Thank God for my 250-foot well. Okay, Falcon 11. Don't have to rub it into all of us people here on normal city water. I'm jealous. I'm happy for you. That's awesome. Eventually, I want to move out of here, and now that's going to be a project when I do, because eventually I might move to Florida. But I would love to be on a well. I think that'd be awesome. So, Falcon 11, you're living the life. That's awesome. And then Red Canyon 204. Yeah, naturally hard, but I use conditioner in minimal amounts and let the water sit for 24 hours before topping off. Yeah, Neos like hard water, so unless it's crazy hard, they should be thriving. Rainwater at all. That's another one. So I'm thinking about actually doing that here soon. So if you guys know, I did a little self-sustaining fishbowl build recently, and I'm gonna need to drill through my wall there. We're gonna set up a solar panel and attach a solar panel to power the light, and then I'm going to be collecting rainwater, so that would be fun. If you guys do collect rainwater, send me a private message on my Facebook page and walk me through your setups and how you guys are doing it, because I want to start testing that out as well. I think that would be fun. All right, we're going to do the giveaway. So if you guys haven't yet, go quickly. I'll give it another minute or two. If you haven't yet, enter into the jot form. It's in the description down below. And post and enter the information, and we'll do the giveaway for the frog bit. Looks like we got one new member, so thank you. Shout out to Lone Star. Let me go back up, double check so I don't mess the name up here. But Lone Star Finn just joined, so thank you. Appreciate you joining the club. You'll be going up on my member wall soon, so stay tuned for the video. I'll be posting that here. But if you guys haven't, go join the membership club. It's $1 a month for the special members only Facebook group and the Discord. And then we also have members only live streams this third week of every month. And then for $5 a month, you get the 10% off my website, and then early access to all the videos I drop in real time. And all that goes right back into continuing to expand the fish room. And if you guys have questions outside the live stream, just hit me up on Facebook. I interact with a lot of you guys on there. It's a lot of fun, so excited for it. All right, let's go see who all has entered into the form. All right, we're gonna update this here and see who wins the free frog bit. All right, so we got Matthew Jenkins. All right, so we got Lone Star Finn over here, and we have Falcon 11. Awesome. All right, we're gonna do a coin flip. Let me set this up. Do a coin flip. So if it's heads, all right. Since we got two people in here, so heads is gonna be Lone Star. Oh wait, oh, we just got a third. Jason just submitted. All right, so we're gonna do a random generator. Let me pull it up. Wheel generator, and we're gonna do a giveaway. All right. Here we go. Wheel of names. Gotta add the names in. All right. So we got Falcon 11, Lone Star Finn, and Jason. So let's see. Oh, AZ Homegrown Aquatics. Okay, refresh it one more time, make sure there's nobody else. I didn't miss anybody. Perfect. And oh, okay, Rocky Canyon 204 just submitted one, so add that in. Rocky Canyon. Okay, it is now locked, and we are going to do. We're gonna spin it and see who wins the free frog bit. All right, let me go back here. All right, guys, here we go. We got 4 people in. One more time. Lone Star Finn entered in the giveaway, Falcon 11, Homegrown Aquatics, and Rocky Canyon 204. All right, we're gonna spin this thing and see who wins. Good luck to everyone. Oh, all right. We have Homegrown Aquatics won the free frog bit for this month. So Homegrown Aquatics, I'm gonna be sending you an email tonight. Get your address, and I'll ship that out to you for free. So thank you guys for hanging out with me this fine Sunday at 7 p.m. Really appreciate everyone. Lone Star Finn. We see Frank's in the chat. AZ Homegrown Aquatics. John Davis is here. Yo, just tuning in. Got to go back and watch. Appreciate you tuning in. Rocky Canyon 204, Falcon 11, Michael B. Really just want to say thank you to everyone hanging out. It was a lot of fun. Had a great first start to my November, so thank you, everyone. And we'll be doing this again in December, the first Sunday in December at 7 p.m. We'll be tuning in and doing it again. So once again, shout out to Homegrown Aquatics winning this month's free giveaway. I'm shipping it out to you for free. And then we'll be doing another giveaway next live stream, which once again, we do these live streams for everyone the first Sunday of every month at 7 p.m. Central Time. And then we do the members only live streams the third Sunday of every month at 7 p.m. Central Time. So thank you guys for all hanging out. Had a great Sunday getting to hang out with you guys. Already fed my fish. If you haven't fed your fish today, go feed them, go send them, give them some love. And I'll see you guys in some more videos. As always, don't forget to check out 10gallonfishtanks.com. And if you need any fish, shrimp, or plants, hit me up on my Facebook. If you got questions, want to hang out with me, I got my Facebook group, Nashville Fish Keepers. Hang out there, share your photos of your tanks. Or if you want to interact and talk to me, I love getting to talk to you guys outside of these live streams. Hit me up on my Facebook page, 10 Gallon Fish Tanks. Thanks, guys. Hope you have a great Sunday, and I'll see you in the next one.